Hey guys, welcome back to part two with Kevin King. Hey Kevin, how are you?
I'm good, Danny. Glad to be back.
Excellent. All right, so we're going to continue on from the first four hacks. We're going to move into the next four. So, what is hack number five?
Yeah, I hope from last week's you guys were able to maybe pick one or two of those and be able to use those hacks. So I've got four more for you. These actually come from my 99 Hacks PDF that I give out for people that take my Freedom Ticket course. I've handpicked some of these just for you guys I've never actually shared before. So you're getting these. It's the first time outside of that PDF I've ever given them to anybody, no podcast or anything. The next one, I get asked all the time, which keyword tools should you use or do I use? And there's tons of them out there. And I'm one of these guys that I don't like to listen to what people say. I like to go see things for myself. So I wasted thousands and thousands of dollars trying every piece of software out there. And I like to actually validate the data. I trust but verify. So, some of these people making some software are really talented people, and others are, for lack of a better word, they're hacks. They just have cobbled something together, and it's not good. And so the two tools that I use the only two tools that I use at this point for keyword research is the free tool that I use is Sonar. It's sonar-tool.com. SONAR-tool.com. That's the best free tool that I found. It's the most accurate. It gives you little bars like how popular something is. And the Chrome extension actually will put it up on the page for you as you're doing searches and you're doing your product investigations. So I find that's a good one to get a really good eyeball and a really good test. I used to use AMS data. I have an AMS, Amazon Marketing Services account, and you can go in there and you can get it'll tell you very low, medium, and high. And I used to use that as a barometer as well. It's kind of similar to the bars on Sonar. But I found that can be influenced sometimes. Some of these Chinese hackers and some of these Pakistani guys and some of these people that are running bots and things can drastically influence those numbers to where they're not so real. So I've quit using that, and I've used it. I'm
So,
starting
just
to
to
use.
back up there, when you say that, is that they're sending bots traffic to Amazon based on those keywords, which is influencing and inflating, is what you're saying?
Yeah, what people do is they actually will try to influence the suggested search box to actually try to get their brand name or or something or their certain keywords to come up higher in suggested search. So there's black hat methods that you can use and to actually influence that. And that's basically the data that Amazon is using in AMS, which choosing that medium, low, and high. And so I've noticed on different ways that I can't say exactly. I don't do black hat myself, but I've noticed I have access to some stuff where I've seen that it's, a keyword can come out of nowhere and all of a sudden say it's high when there's like 10 people in the world searching for that keyword. But Amazon AMS will say it's a high value keyword or whatever, high volume keyword. And it's not. It's because something's happening. So the tool that I use, it's relatively new, is from Helium 10. It's their Cerebro tool. And I find it to be the most accurate, hands down. When comparing it to my PPC data, when comparing it to all the other data and I'm using market intelligence and some of the other stuff to actually, when I'm doing my product research, it's pretty close to being spot on. Now, its data is going to be different than, say, some of the other tools, the keyword inspectors and the other big ones that, other people know. And sometimes you may be like merchant words and, merchant words may say something is 400,000 searches and Cerebro may say, no, it's 30,000. And you're like, wait a second, this can't be right. I would trust Cerebro before I would trust anybody else because most of these people they're straight up guessing and they're using Google data. But I know the guys at Cerebro have a special way that they're calculating this, and none of them are exactly right. It's just like none of the other tools are, the Jungle Scout estimators and all those others, Unicorn Smashers, those are all just estimates as well. But this one I find to be by far the most accurate. So, and I've noticed that when I base my decisions on that data, I get far better results. So those are the two that I would recommend you pay the most attention to. If you're going to pay for one, use the Cerebro.
Yeah.
If you're going to want a free one, use the Sonar or use them like I do together.
I tell you what, the Sonar is a lifesaver because we had friends from Celix on the show a few months back, and we covered the tool. I was impressed with it, not only because it's free and it's always good, because obviously Celix is a paid version. It's in terms of being a software, but for European marketplaces, for multi-language PPC research is invaluable, because even down to the ability to click on related images, because obviously you've got different contexts to the language, and across multiple languages, there's dialect, there's all these different things. I mean, I only speak one language, but I know that there's complications throughout the languages, and the fact that you can click on images that relates to those keywords, that it starts to give some semblance there, so that you can really dig in and find out whether the product that you've just launched in, say, the UK, is that whether you can replicate this across Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. So for me, it's invaluable. The one tip
you're talking about the visual tool there that they have, right?
Yeah, they've got a visual
Yeah,
down at the bottom.
yeah.
So
It's really good. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about it for people is that for some reason, it depends on your version of Excel and everything. When you download the data, you get all different weird characters and shit in there. But when I spoke to friends, if you import it, 9 times out of 10, it will work out exactly what it is when you download the file, bring it into Google Docs, because that will recognize the file instantly without changing the UTC code or whatever it is. Or I think he uses a colon. So when you bring the data in, you can set it up to look it up via colon, and then it brings down the data. So that's the only problem I found with the tool, but it's a phenomenal tool, and I use it all the time.
Yeah, and that's good to know. And the Cerebro tool, I mean, you can download, I guess, with it as well, and they give you the exact search volume, and the broad search volume, so you can actually do a lot of extra data mining and kind of really play with to see, what you can do with it. Those two are very similar, or if there's a big disparity between them, it gives you different thoughts and processes and different opportunities that you can go after when you're setting up your listing or you're doing your product research.
So while we've got you on this subject, and you're like me, you get dirty with the data, you go deep with stuff, maybe to the extreme. I've got to a stage now personally, and I've had people like I've had on the show, like Dan Little, has convinced me of this, is going for the 80-20 rule with stuff. It's like I could spend days compiling spreadsheets for all of this data, and ultimately at the end of the day, there's probably 2 or 3 real main keywords that are going to be your sellers, because it's like rising tides. Yeah.
Well, not always though, Danny. Yeah. Not to interrupt you on that, but I that can be the case. But what I like to do when I'm doing, and this could be a whole long discussion, but what I like to do when I'm doing my keyword research is I like to find out what's driving the sales. If you go and you type in makeup brush on a Jungle Scout or Market Intelligence or Unicorn Smasher, and up comes the top 10, 20 sellers or whatever, and it tells you that this guy is selling, 1,000 a month. Well, you don't know. That's how he's ranking on Makeup Brush, but 1,000 sales aren't coming off the word Makeup Brush, most likely.
That's right.
There may be 1 sale coming off the word Makeup Brush, so there may be 100. So I like to take that a lot deeper and find out using a combination of tools that Market Intelligence, one of them, and Cerebro and some others, and see where that's actually coming from, and try to pick 5 or 10. And what I've found a lot of times, and I have a product right now, I have an ab roller. It's one of my products. People don't like to say their products, but I have an ab roller that I've been selling for 2.5 years that does very, very well for me. And for the word ab roller, which is the top keyword in that space for describe that product, I'm not on page 1 or page 2, but I sell 25 to 30 units a day at a high price point. It's not a runaway hit, but my price is double everybody else in the space, double everybody else. I sell 25 to 30 a day, and it's not coming off those main keywords. There's a lot of times you can find these middle range keywords that people ignore, and you put enough of those together. If you can find 5 or 10 of those using these keyword tools and target those, it's much easier to rank for them. It's much easier to compete, and rather than going after these top 2 or 3 that everybody else is all going after because they have the big numbers.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. I mean, when I was saying that, my point of it was that you do have the main 2 or 3 keywords. And if you know how to rank and you know how to drive external traffic and do giveaways, but like you said, you can't make things stick. There's 2 elements there as well. You could go after 2 or 3 keywords, use a rotating URL storefront, yeah? And then you could rank within a few days. Now, a couple of things that can fall by the wayside. Either your product is not resonating with the audience. That could be the product itself, the image, or the price, which means you'll slip down the rankings. Or your product doesn't have any activation with that keyword. Do you see what I mean? So some products sell on that keyword. But I was just talking about overall, like I could spend days on this. And what I found across my products is that if you're in this, let's call it 3 stages. You've got the low end where there's not much search volume, so you don't get a lot of keywords to work with. So you have to go for the top one, but they're not very competitive. Then you've got the middle ground where there are competitive keywords, but there's enough room for micro conversions and the conversions on the top of the keywords. And then you've got top of the pile, which it becomes very expensive to try and rank on those keywords unless you're sending external traffic and know certain things what to do, right? But what you're saying is that discovery process. Now, I agree with you on the discovery process. For me, it's that time that you spend doing that whole discovery process. It can take a lot of your time. And in some cases, there isn't a guarantee, is there? Because it could be that there simply isn't enough conversions in that frame rate, in that area to warrant doing it. Do you see what I mean? Because sometimes you can have
I overcome that by using my PPC data. So when I launch a new product, I don't immediately go do a viral launch or a honey rank or Design Blast or any of these guys. I don't do that right away like a lot of people do. I don't pick, this is the keyword I'm going after, and I think I'm going to go after it. Let me go after it for the exact reasons you just said. Yeah. They'll get me to page 1, but I may not stick. Yeah. And so I like to run heavy PPC for 2 to 3 weeks. And then look at my conversions and look at these top 5, 10, 20 phrases that I've identified and see which of those are actually converting, which are resonating. And then I'll rework my title and my listing, and then I'll go do a giveaway on 1 or 2 or 3 of those, and include some of the top ones. These big money. The word ab roller, which is the main keyword in that space. I'll include it in there so I get a little bit of lift for it too, but I don't target it specifically. I target the others, and that way I know that I'm going to what's called stick the landing. When I get to page 1, this is resonating, and I'm not wasting my time or money on a crazy giveaway that's shot in the dark like a lot of people do.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think the other thing where people fall over is the miscalculation on what they're doing with PPC in order to rank. So there are a lot of people out there and go, okay, I'm going to go after this batch of keywords and I'm going to try and rank my product. But if they go after what I call a batch of keywords, that becomes very, very expensive for one. 2, they're quite often they miss out the calculation. So they're trying to take up the top spots. And now with the right rail possibly disappearing as well, it's going to become more and more expensive. And there's that percentage of organic sales over PPC sales. So I think where a lot of people maybe don't succeed when they're launching a product or it becomes very expensive with PPCs because they try to use too many keywords
I agree.
At the same time and do not do the correct calculations to work out what their spends are over what their returns are.
Yeah, I don't typically target more than about 20 or so, 15 or 20. I don't fill it up. You can do 1,000. I don't fill that up. One of the most effective mining ones that I do, I still run automatic campaigns at a low bid now for 2 years in one of mine because it works at like a 4% ACoS. Yeah. But I do single words. So if I do keyword research and I've got a list of 300 phrases, I'll dump those into a tool and have it dedupe it down to the individual words, not individual phrases, but if it's makeup brush, it's the word make up, with no dash or space, and then brush, and then whatever. And I'll just do single word, a low bid. I'll put them all in a broad campaign and do a low bid on those, like maybe 15 cents or 20 cents or some really low bid at 10, 20 bucks a day. And you'd be surprised at what happens there. Now, it's not going to make you rich, and put you in the best, make you the best seller. But you might be surprised at what kind of keywords you come up with that you've totally overlooked, and they don't cost you hardly anything to get.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Johnson, we had on the show a few weeks ago. He kind of came up with a good solution. Now, is that you can throw and stick to the wall. Is that you can take a load of keywords, dump them into a campaign, and if they don't get suggested bids by them, the chances are they're not worth going after, which may kind of good sense as well, and that will help filter down the bulk of the keywords you've got. Because the danger is as well is you could spend a lot of time pushing data around unnecessarily, and I think unless, like me and you, we've done this before before Amazon, we've done this in commerce. We understand how PPC works and stuff. And I think if you're kind of new to this business, then you can get overwhelmed because you're trying to go after thousands of keywords. You want to inherently go after the cheaper keywords, but the cheaper keywords won't always convert. And it's nice getting micro conversions, but you need the macros ones as well to make up the difference. But yeah, no, it's been great. So moving on, next one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, let's go along on the same way about ranking and getting sales and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of people always want to know, they ask about, how do you get what's this Amazon's Choice Badge and how do you get it? The Amazon's Choice Badge is keyword dependent. So it's not product dependent, it's keyword dependent. So you might have it on one of your products for a certain keyword and not on any other keyword. It's what Amazon's Alexa recommends. So if someone speaks your Alexa, buy me a Danny Sullivan fly swatter, and you're the Amazon's choice for Danny Sullivan fly swatter, it's going to pop that up and put that in your cart on Alexa. But it also can make it, gives it some social proof, because the average customer doesn't know what the hell it means. It thinks Amazon might have said, hey, this is our recommendation. It's kind of like editor's picks in the bookstore or something like that. The way you can actually influence that, if you really want to influence that, the way you can influence that is by sending traffic to using Facebook or your own email list or whatever to your listing, but have them blindly put it to the cart. Because what Amazon is looking for, that gives them the proof that this is viable for Alexa, is that if someone doesn't actually look at your listing to buy the product, because they can't look at your listing if they're telling Alexa to buy it. So they think that if you, in a group of search results, if you know how Amazon has a little, you can click the link to actually go to the product listing, or you can just add it to your cart straight from that search results page. That's what you want to get people to do, is add it straight to the cart from that search results page. There's a link, Amazon.com. It's basically, it ends in add.html, and you can, some additional code. You can probably Google this and find this information, and it will create that link for you. So they just hit the add to cart button blindly without looking at your full listing, and you get a handful of those on some of your keywords, and you'll have Amazon's choice on a lot of stuff. So that's like a little hack that's actually working right now to influence that Amazon's choice and get that badge if that's something you're looking to do.
Fantastic. And the final one that you got for us?
Sure. Next one is another way to get actually ranked that a lot of people don't realize is when in several categories, most people on Amazon, they don't filter down into a category to actually do a search. If I'm looking for electronics, I don't go to Amazon.com, pull down a little electronics bar, get into my subcategory and type in my keywords. Most people don't do that. Most people type from the general search bars, the all listing up there. And a lot of times in many categories, what Amazon does is on the search results for that is they will, if there's a lot of subcategories and under that your keyword can go into or that's relevant for you, they'll show typically the top two listings in each of those categories will often appear on page one. Now, if there's 25 subcategories, they're not all going to appear on page one, but usually there's 6, 10 subcategories or something that are relevant. They're going to take the top two typically, maybe in some cases 3 or 4, but typically the top 2 will definitely make it and show those in the results. So if you can get your product into the top 2 sellers, even with a bestseller badge, or maybe it's the number 2 position in a subcategory, your chances of being on page 1 for any specific keyword are far greater. And that's how sometimes you'll see a product that doesn't sell so much and it has a BSR of 50,000 and everybody else has a BSR of 1,000. You're like, how'd this guy get there? It's because he picked some random obscure subcategory to put his product in and he's in the number 1 or number 2 position in that random subcategory. So if you there's a tool on Amazon, if you just Google it, subcategory picker or something, because when you go in to set up your product, it doesn't give you all the subcategories. It only gives you like a few of them, but you can actually go in and there's some tools, and you can Google this.
A category code, haven't you?
Yeah, it's like a category code, and you can really go in and see where you can compete. And there's some categories where you might only need 3 sales a day to be the best seller or the number 2 guy or something. And you can just get your product into that category, or if you have a variations, get one of your variations in that category, and the rest of them in other categories, and you can do some magic. So that's a little hack. Just that subcategory that you're in can make a huge difference in how you appear, how your PPC works, what you get indexed for. So pay good attention and maybe even experiment with that a little bit, and see what that can do for you.
Excellent. And I mean, obviously, because it's category related and we've got to deal with relevance, have we got to be a bit careful with that in any way? So you can't just
you do.
From not being a pet and then go into home and kitchen, So
yeah. You got to be careful. Yeah, no. There's a balancing act there with the relevance for sure.
Yeah.
But there's ways to do it, and to really. This used to be a little easier when you could actually be in 2 categories. Back in the day when you could just phone up Amazon and say, "Hey, can you put me over here, please, too?" And they would do it. But sometimes Amazon will automatically assign you to a second category. So I've noticed that sometimes when I put it in one category and I get a bunch of sales, and I'm like later, you're like, no, I want to try this other category and see if I can get a boost. I still might have that first category show up down there sometimes as well. So, but just pay attention to that and consider that as a factor when you're setting up your product and trying to position yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So no putting silicon hammers in air purifier category. So
that's right.
Excellent. Look, it's been amazing having you on. Thank you so much for sharing what you've been sharing over the 2 episodes. Before we go, how can people reach you?
Sure. Well, I'm one of the mentors in the Illuminati Mastermind, which is a training, illuminatimastermind.com for high-level sellers, where we do a monthly training. We have a live event coming up here in Kauai at the end of January as well. And then I also have freedomticket.com if you want more of these hacks. You can go, there's a webinar over at freedomticket.com. I think it's on replay right now. You can check that out. There's a lot of good information in there and tells you how to get this 99 hacks PDF, a lot more of the stuff like we've been talking about. We just did 3 of them today. Or you can go to AMZ Marketer on Facebook, and you can see a lot of the different podcasts and sessions like yourself that I've been on, and just like it over there. And I hope I've given some good value to you guys, and you can take some of this and it helps you in your business.
Fantastic. Again, guys, thank you for your time. Kevin, thanks for coming on. I look forward to getting you back next year.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks, Danny.